What's up, guys? Let's take a look at Microstrategy's price action for the past few weeks and see if we can figure out why we topped out at 430. I have a pretty strong suspicion that it had something to do with going back to the 2021 top, and this is on the log scale, okay? So I'm going to draw a line from the top to the lower high, okay? I'm going to duplicate this line. I'm going to pull it over to our price action for this past week, and what do you know, just like that, right? We got the same exact setup, unfortunately. I mean, it's not the exact setup. I think there was more bars here, more time than, you know, the lower high that we just made. I mean, hey, I'm very bullish on Bitcoin and MicroStrategy right now, but you have to kind of take a step back and wonder if we were looking back and we were like, where did we go wrong? And could we have figured out that we were wrong, as in price kind of reverses and goes significantly lower from here? This would be the biggest canary in the coal mine. That being said, like, I'm still maintaining my bullish bias. This is just one chart and one way of looking at it. So this is MicroStrategy, weekly bars on the log scale, but worth just kind of taking a look, right? It's not a great look to see, you know, because look what happened right here afterwards on the second test. That's one way of looking at it. Let me pull up my MicroStrategy green chart here. By the way, my green chart is usually like my safe chart. I try to just plot the channel that's containing all the price action. So I'm not trying to project like a more aggressive expansion in my green charts. My red charts, I do that. So my green chart, what do you know? Check that out. We got a, just connect the previous top to the March 24 top to the May 25 top. And I mean, boom, just like that. So you had it on the log scale. You had the overhead resistance. You had it on the linear chart here. Overhead resistance at 430. I mean, they perfectly coincided. The algorithms that trade this stuff, man, they do an incredible job at making this stuff line up for real. Because it's all the previous price action that kind of sets up today's price action, right? And today's price action is setting up the future price action as well. Anyways, it's no surprise that we bounced right off of 430. And anybody who really was doing their due diligence ahead of time could have maybe pinpointed that as a price target, you know, before a little bit of consolidation, right? Like we could kind of hang out theoretically for a while now. This is still weekly. So that line I just drew, this line I just drew took us to July, right? So theoretically, maybe we cool off for a little bit, and that brought us down to 380. Okay. 380, which if I go over here to the red chart, my aggressive chart, remember 380. Okay. Because it is kind of relevant here. I guess it actually doesn't line up exactly because of this bull flag. But one thing that I remember when I was looking at this red chart was that, I mean, this is, again, we're all looking at MicroStrategy still, but these are just different ways of looking at it. You can see my red channel is the aggressive expansion line, and which was, again, the angle was based on connecting these previous tops here. It looks like we're in another bull flag. We actually just broke out, right? We had this previous bull flag consolidation right there. That was from, you know, February 2024 up until September, and then boom, we ripped up, okay? We ripped up from September to November. It was 10 weeks, 10 bars, 10 weeks, and we basically went 400%. Okay. Now, again, it looks like we're consolidating in this bull flag again. Now we've broken out of the bull flag, which is extremely bullish. Although look where that weekly candle closed, basically right against the, you know, yellow downtrend. But that downtrend line you could also just call like kind of a bull flag that's going to break at some point. And the fact that we were able to get a wick outside of it, I think, is super bullish as well. Even though that bull flag, I mean, this yellow channel is not an exact science. It's just me doing a little bit of projection. So I don't know. When you look at it this way, it definitely seems pretty bullish. We had the previous target. I labeled as target 1 on this graph. And we could even duplicate that and just label this as like target 2, right? Label target 2. And we were not able to cross that previously, but maybe it'll be just like this bar was this week and we go straight through it next week. You know what I mean? That would be kind of crazy based on what we just looked at on the log chart and my green chart. But I mean, it definitely could do something like that. Like nothing's really stopping it. We know MicroStrategy derives its value from Bitcoin more or less, which honestly at this point, I think we should just bring up the Bitcoin chart, BTC USD. So this is Bitcoin on my green chart. And we basically went up right against the top of this bull flag that I had drawn out. Okay, so again, resistance there kind of coincides with resistance on MicroStrategy. Makes a lot of sense. Still looking very, very strong, very bullish. Love seeing that. The one thing that I did want to mention though is with these bull flags, like look at what they tend to do. They tend to shake you out. Like the last bull flag we were in, the weekly candle closed outside of it. The next week closed on top of it barely, but look at how, it brought you back inside. It would shake your conviction if you weren't super, convinced about your positions. The next week, even kind of the same thing, but instead of it being inside, it was above, but still closed basically in that same range. And then the week after, you know what I mean? The week after, you got a massive candle taking you from 66,000 up to 81,000. So again, you got to be strong in your conviction. That was the first of 3 candles in a row that were just absolutely massive, ultimately going up to like 100K. So if we want to apply that, and this is Bitcoin, but let's assume that it, translates pretty directly to MicroStrategy. You would essentially be like, this would be the first bar, right? So that's this bar right here that gets you outside the channel. The next one you would think would be a little bit red, then a little bit. Okay, so the next one would be back inside the channel. So it would be something like this, okay? I'll zoom in too. Okay, going back, the week after would be right around the channel, but up. Whoops, trying to draw a straight line up. So it'd be something like this, okay? And then after that, those are those 2 weeks kind of chopping. That third week would be when you would get the significant move higher. So it would be right about here, and it would go straight to 544. Honestly, bookmark this video. That to me makes a lot of sense. That seems like a really logical path. Now, I don't think we're going to go actually that deep as I drew it here. That would take MicroStrategy down to like 340. That would be insane. But definitely like a week where we're not just going straight up would make sense to me. Like a cool off week. Even 2 weeks, the second week would be the one that kind of takes us up to that target too. And maybe even realistically, that week would close just above it, like a hair above that second target, right? To let us know that, hey, this third week, it's on. You know what I mean? Like if you get a close just above that previous target, which would put us about 442, it's tough for me to say with a straight face that I think that's going to happen next week. You know what I mean? This was targeting May 16th. Like I don't think May 16th we're going to get there. I think May 23rd, we will be at that second target and likely close right above it. So that would put us like May 23rd, 440 calls would be in play, even though I would never cut it that close. And then the week after that, May 30th, okay, right as we pivot into June, and I know a lot of people have had some nice bullish targets for June, it would put us right up there at, 540. And what does that mean for Bitcoin? Well, whoops, didn't mean to draw that. We could try drawing these candles on the Bitcoin chart as well if we wanted to. I would do it on my red chart, honestly. So here it would look something like this next week. Not a super exciting week. Maybe the candle drops back, tests that 0.786 fib at around 102,000. I mean, it's not exciting for me to talk about this, but like, let's be realistic here. This is consolidating before a big move. It's shaking people out. Again, you see the bull flag there too, right? It's the same bull flag as here on this chart that was right here before the big breakout. Okay. So, you know what I mean? It may not repeat exact, but it's most likely going to look somewhat similar. So you get that. The next candle would be the nice, exciting one. Whoops. That takes us from, 102,000 on that fib and closes that week right above that target, that previous weekly candle high, the lower high of 106,500. But it's going to close just above, more or less about where it closes, honestly. That candle could go all the way up, test the previous all-time high and not break it, and then come back down. The weekly close, we're talking about Sunday, May 18th would be, and somebody write this down and check me on this because I bet you anything, like for real, this would make so much sense. Closes just above that target. So if the previous high was 106.6, it's going to close like 106.7 or something like that. And that's going to be all systems go for the last week of May, which is going to be, starting May 25th through May 31st. It's going to be like rocket fuel through the previous all-time high, right? And into the banana zone, right? The exploration zone, which would correlate nicely with what we were just projecting with MicroStrategy going up to 550 and beyond. To me, that makes a lot of sense. I can see it on the chart. The only one that scares me, honestly, is the log scale chart here. You know what I mean? This is the only one that scares me a little bit. By the way, on the log scale, this could have MicroStrategy only going up to like 700 a share, roughly. Well, that's only July, though. That's only July. If we follow this out to January 2026, it could go up to like 800. So it's not nearly as bullish for MicroStrategy, but I mean, maybe Bitcoin, again, let's just be reasonable here. It's not an exciting video and it's the weekend. I know you guys probably want the excitement here, but like on the green chart, like Bitcoin could, I don't know, break out, and I don't even have a channel for it, honestly. I'd have to go to my red chart here. On the red chart, Bitcoin could theoretically, 130,000 should be the minimum for the new all-time high. Like, it's not that exciting, but 130K, maybe 130K correlates to, you know, and when we're just done in July, correlates to like $650, $670 on MicroStrategy. Maybe that's just the first leg too. I mean, if you remember Bitcoin, like it does like to move in kind of like two legs. You know what I mean? It does like to go, you know, up, consolidate, and then move again. So maybe it's like the first move kind of takes us to around 650, 660 MicroStrategy, Bitcoin to 130, consolidate, consolidate, consolidate. Oops. I need to learn the hotkeys for TradingView. So then it consolidates a little bit, right? Chop, chop, chop. Now we're in September. You know what I mean? And then it says, all right, goodbye. And it goes up either to this channel right here, which is 150K, or to the fib around 160. I know there's people talking about like 250, 500. I'm not saying that can't happen, but like, I don't know. Actually, you have an intersection of a fib and a channel top right there. Those tend to be like magnets. So in September, you could see 200,000 in a super bullish scenario. It's definitely not off the table. And that would probably take, you know, MicroStrategy through this level and onto the next. You know, this is, okay, that's 3,000 though. That's too high. I don't know. This is the log chart. Log chart's not my, like we're looking at linear on one and log on another. It doesn't make too much sense. But anyways, guys, it's always good to have a plan, right? Try to make sense of these moves in advance. If there's one thing I've learned, is that the charts make this possible. So going through these theoreticals is worth doing. And if you think this was a terrible YouTube video, for real, you're not going to offend me. I've put out many YouTube videos on my other channel. So let me know so I can try to structure the next ones better. Or if you're kind of riding with me here and you are following, then let me know and I'll do more of it. So guys, thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.